Tom was always sending postcards and putting interesting little mementos in one's mailbox. On the occasion of my taking over from him as the new director of the Idaho Center for the Book, what he gave me was a reproduction of a movie poster from a movie which was the sequel to the last movie that Bruce Lee ever made. And the movie was called Exit the Dragon, Enter the Tiger. I looked at that poster again recently since Tom died, and it's even funnier and deeper and more mysterious than I think he even would have realized, because there are lines on the poster that say, "Watch as the tiger tries to find out the mystery of the dragon's death," and Bruce Lee, L-E-E, says, "If I die, find out why." Tom has left me with an amazing responsibility in trying to honor his legacy. And also, according to that poster, I have to discover the mystery of his death.
She was born on a Saturday.
I think I stayed at Boise State because I must like adversity, quite frankly, but I also like opportunity. And for that matter, I haven't said anything about the CIA or KGB yet.
And rather than let my words create that imagery, I actually have these images.
As we've put together this service that's not a service, many people who knew Tom have remarked that he would never have attended something like this. And he certainly wouldn't have wanted a formal service, and yet here we are in our grief, needing something, anything that will help us feel as if he's still here. And he is, on the walls, on the tables, in the books, in the floating pens and photographs, in the words of those who will share their own memories of Tom tonight.
The first word that comes to my mind is irreverent, and irrepressible is the second one.
Tom was courageous, and Tom was hilarious. He was courageous because, you know, deans and presidents and chairs of departments and all those people that tried to influence him, he basically stuck to his guns.
I thought I could put up any exhibit anywhere. I thought I could make any speech anywhere. I thought I could put up a poster anywhere. I thought I could lecture anything. Well, not so, quite frankly. No one's going to be blinded or their lives destroyed. Children will not melt if they see this display.
So he was kind of, sort of had this wonderful sardonic sense of humor, kind of cynical and devilish that I so appreciated, and I really will miss that.
When he showed up on campus, we weren't too sure of the wisdom of our choice with his semi-washed Levi's and his flannel shirt. That part of him never changed.
And to put your mind at ease, I didn't see one Uzi held by a pot grower pointed at me there in the National Forest. For that matter, they couldn't see me either. You see, I'd taken the precaution before we left the city of Lewiston of purchasing a camouflage hat.
He found some sort of adventure and romance in it, and that's what we'll miss.
I knew Tom primarily also as a curator and a maker. I always considered him an artist and a maker of things, and I really felt he created poetic objects, and like an artist obsessed over every imaginable detail.
You always were curious. You always wanted to know more. And he was curious. He wanted to know about you.
He was always on the edge of pushing creativity and pushing ideas. He was, at a point in his career where he went, look, what I do is good, and I don't really care if somebody's going to be negative about it.
Normally we think of pop-up books as books for children, and I want to show my students, in fact, that at least I know a number of books that are books for adults, and I'd hope my students who are taking book arts here would look at these examples and maybe do their own books on serious so-called adult subjects.
I keep thinking that I'm going to see Tom coming around the corner at the Flicks any minute because he was there all the time. He had such a voracious interest in the movies, and he always had interesting insights.
And I always say at this point in presentations that for you to find out who killed the dog, you have to buy The Silent Screen and My Talking Heart, because I'm not going to tell you.
You would find these little facts or these little details, and they would just be fascinating. They would become fascinating to you, too, because he was so fascinating.
You know, you start out fresh, feeling like a young Sherlock Holmes, magnifying glass in hand, but after a few hours of looking through a magnifying glass, you're an old Sherlock, you're a balding Sherlock.
Probably one of the secrets of him as a great teacher is that he would get excited about things, and I think that the great teachers are excited.
I remember going to class one evening with a temperature of 101 because there was no way I was going to miss a class, no matter how sick I was. Thank you, Tom, for making learning exciting for me.
I had lots of problems in the classroom here when I first arrived. I had students in my American literature classes, for example, soliciting other students for funds to pay for a sound man to come and bug the classroom.
We were all intimidated by him because he had such standards. He communicated that he would tolerate no cliches. He would tolerate a lot, even a rhyme scheme, but no cliches. And he said, I just want to know that there's someone behind the poem.
The head is that organ that grasps our world, that manipulates our world.
He wants us all to bring out the best within ourselves. He has such a sense of fun and passion and energy that he carried us all with him, within that energy.
I never met anybody else who loved the entire human race the same like Tom did. And if you were an artist, that was a plus.
People always talk about his dozens of projects and his dozens of passions, but there was so much more to him, and I can't even put my finger on what it was. There was something just under the surface about him that was really, really special.
He was a very sensitive man. You know, he wanted people to be heartfelt and honorable. He was just a really good man.
He always made me feel honored and valued, and I'm so fortunate to have had him in my life.
Today everyone was saying, well, you know, he was my mentor, he was my teacher, and I think that went not just for students, but for everybody who encountered him, because he had that kind of energy and excitement that taught you to love life.
He was a great guy. And he's such a loss to the community, to the school, to each of us individually.
It's still inconceivable that we're going to go out into Boise after this event and not see him somewhere out there. So the good news is that Tom Trusky has always been eternal, and so he is.
Hopefully there are people all over the world that were inspired by Tom and will carry out some of his creativity, but I think his spirit is in many places in Boise and around the world.
He was a tall guy, he stood tall, he stood out, he was outstanding.
We are what have been called the slow fires, the acidic fires of bibliodecay, until our pages, fox, host mite and worm, grow brittle, chip, crack, and fade, becoming that ash and soot, of which a good ink might be made.
Le soleil me remplace dans ton lit. Matin arrivé, tu me suis dans le couloir où je passe, je pars, le riz tes portes fermées à clé. Rien ne se lève, les yeux, je quitte. Je ne sais que dire que moi, je ne vois que toi.